How does a 40-year-old goalkeeper, playing in Portugal's second division, a place most football fans couldn't even name, end up with more Instagram followers than Patrick Mahomes? How does a man who almost retired last year somehow become the single biggest story of the World Cup? And how does a kid from a tiny island nation of 500,000 people, who didn't even turn pro until he was 25, end up making the save of the tournament against the second-best team on Earth? His name is Vozinha. It means little granny. And right now, the whole world cannot stop watching him. Josimar José Évora Dias was born on the 3rd of June 1986 in Mindelo, a port town on the island of São Vicente, Cape Verde. It's a small place, around 70,000 people, sitting in the Atlantic, hundreds of miles off the coast of West Africa. Football here isn't a business. It's survival, joy, and the only ticket out, all rolled into one. His parents wanted to name him Valdano, after the Argentine striker Jorge Valdano. The authorities said no, so they named him Josimar instead, after a Brazilian fullback from the 1986 World Cup, the same year he was born. But it wasn't his parents who shaped him the most. It was his grandparents. They were the ones who raised him, and it was them who gave him the nickname that would one day be known across the planet, Vozinha, Little Granny. He had brothers too. Delmiro followed him into football and went on to play for Cape Verde himself. Another brother, Clyder, took a completely different path and became a mathematics teacher in Brazil. Growing up on São Vicente, there was no clear road to professional football, no academy pipeline, no scouts flying in. If you wanted to play, you played in the streets, on dirt, with whatever ball you could find. Vozinha didn't turn professional until he was 25 years old. Think about that. Most future stars are already breaking into first teams by that age. He was still grinding away on a small island, waiting for a door to open. That door opened at Batuque, a local club in Mindelo, where he made his senior debut in 2007, the same year a kid named Lamine Yamal was born, the same teenager who would one day stand across from him in a World Cup. From Batuque, his performances earned him a move to local rival Cs Mindelense, and it was there that scouts from Angola started paying attention. Progresso Associado do Sambizanga came calling, and Vozinha made the move abroad for the first time in his life. There was just one problem when he arrived. There was already a goalkeeper at the club named Josimar. Rather than become Josimar II, he made a decision that would define the rest of his career. If everyone knew me as Vozinha in Cape Verde, he said, that's what I would be. From that point on, the nickname his grandparents gave him became his identity on every shirt he ever wore. There was no transfer war for Vozinha, no bidding clubs, no flashy headlines. Just a journeyman building his name one country at a time. After 3 years in Angola, he returned home to Mindelense, then took a leap into Europe, joining Zimbruchinu in Moldova in 2015. A year later, in August 2016, he signed for Gil Vicente in Portugal's second division, the Liga Portugal 2, where he quietly put together a number that turns heads in goalkeeping circles. He saved 5 penalties in just 32 games. That's not luck. That's a goalkeeper who reads the game better than almost anyone around him. But it was on the international stage where Vozinha was truly building his legacy. He made his debut for Cape Verde back in September 2012 in a playoff against Cameroon that sent his country to its first ever major tournament, the 2013 Africa Cup of Nations. At those finals, Cape Verde stunned everyone by reaching the quarterfinals, before falling 2-0 to Ghana. Vozinha was there for every minute of it, and he kept coming back 2015, 2021, 2023, collecting cap after cap, year after year, becoming the second highest appearance maker in his nation's history. Quietly, without fanfare, while the rest of the football world looked the other way. By 2017, Vozinha was on the move again, this time to Ale Limassol in Cyprus. And here, finally, he found a true home. He spent 5 years there, 116 appearances, and in the 2018-19 season, he won the Cypriot Cup, the only major trophy of his entire career. This wasn't a flashy rise. There were no Ballon d'Or nominations, no transfer fees that made headlines, no Champions League nights under the lights. While players his age were either superstars or retired, Vozinha just kept playing. Slovakia came next, a 2-year stint at AS Tren, starting in 2022. Then, in 2024, he returned to Portugal, signing for second division side Chaves. By June of 2026, with his contract at Chaves expiring and his 40th birthday just days away, Vozinha announced he was leaving the club. For most goalkeepers, that announcement reads like a retirement notice. For Vozinha, it was the opening line of the biggest chapter of his entire life, because Cape Verde had just done something no one saw coming. They had qualified for their first ever FIFA World Cup. There was no transfer fee for this next chapter, no release clause, just history, written by an entire nation that had never once stepped onto football's biggest stage. Cape Verde, population roughly 500,000, one of the smallest countries ever to qualify for a World Cup, was given a group spot alongside Spain, Uruguay, and Saudi Arabia. On paper, it looked like a death sentence. Spain, ranked second in the entire world, Cape Verde, ranked 67th. But Vozinha had already told the world exactly what this meant to him. "I think it is the most important moment of our lives," he said before the tournament even started. He wasn't talking about himself. He was talking about an entire country that had been dreaming of this day for generations. On the 15th of June 2026, in Atlanta, Cape Verde walked out to face Spain in their first ever World Cup match. Nobody outside the stadium gave them a chance. What happened next will be replayed for years. Spain attacked from the very first whistle, wave after wave after wave. 27 shots in total, their highest tally in a World Cup match since 1966. Ferran Torres crashed a shot off the crossbar. Pedri was denied early by a stop that looked impossible. Mikel Oyarzabal had a shot blocked in the box. And every single time Spain came forward, there was Vozinha, diving, stretching, re-editing the angle before the ball had even left the boot. 7 saves. 90 minutes. Final score 0-0. It was one of the biggest shocks in World Cup history, and Vozinha was named man of the match. He became the third oldest goalkeeper to ever keep a clean sheet at a men's World Cup, behind only two legends Peter Shilton and Dino Zoff. And he became the oldest goalkeeper in history to keep a clean sheet on his World Cup debut. When the final whistle blew, Vozinha broke down in tears on the pitch. "I cried because I grew up with my grandparents, and unfortunately they were not here," he said afterward. "They died a few years ago. They were everything for me, for my life." 6 days later, in Miami, he did it again. Before the tournament even began, the road to get here had been littered with quiet disappointment. Vozinha was already 25 years old before he turned professional years that, for most goalkeepers, would have already been spent inside a major academy. He spent a decade and a half bouncing between Angola, Moldova, Portugal, Cyprus, and Slovakia, never once playing for a club anyone outside those countries had heard of. He won exactly one trophy in nearly 2 decades as a professional. He told ESPN that he had thought about quitting altogether. Imagine carrying a World Cup dream for 19 years with almost nothing to show for it. But like every player who eventually breaks through, Vozinha refused to let the silence define him. Heartbreak number 2 arrived in the very moment that should have been pure joy. After the Spain match, as his name exploded across the planet, Vozinha discovered his own mother could not be there to see it. Cape Verde sits on a U.S. State Department list requiring travelers to post a bond of up to $15,000 just to receive a visa. His mother simply could not afford it in time. The man who had just produced the performance of his life had to celebrate it without the one person who raised him alongside his grandparents. He smiled for the cameras, but behind it, there was real pain. And here is the part of this story that says everything about who Vozinha really is. As his fame exploded, as he gained millions of followers overnight, he didn't change. He didn't ask for headlines or sponsorship deals. Instead, the story of his mother spread on its own, and people rallied behind it, including US lawmakers who publicly pushed for her visa to be approved. Vozinha never once made it about himself. When she was finally granted that visa and arrived in Miami days later, he didn't throw a party. He simply wanted her in the stands, watching the dream he had chased since childhood. That's the kind of person Vozinha is. And it's exactly why the world has fallen in love with him. And now comes the heartbreak that the entire football world is holding its breath for. Cape Verde sits second in their group, with 2 points from 2 matches, against all logic, against every prediction made before the tournament started. One final match remains Saudi Arabia, in Houston on the 26th of June. A win, or even a draw depending on other results, sends this tiny island nation through to the knockout rounds of a World Cup for the very first time in its history. But Football has a cruel habit of saving its worst twists for the moments that matter most. Vozinha has already given everything across 2 matches diving saves, last-ditch blocks, his body thrown in front of shot after shot. Every neutral on the planet is now rooting for Cape Verde. And yet one mistake, one moment of bad luck, one heartbreaking finish in stoppage time could end this story before it ever reaches the round of 32. If Cape Verde falls short here, it will be the cruelest ending imaginable for a man who waited 19 years just to get this chance. At 40 years old, Vozinha has already done something no amount of money or talent alone could buy. He has made an entire planet fall in love with a goalkeeper from a country most people couldn't find on a map a month ago. From 50,000 Instagram followers to over 14 million in a matter of days. More than Patrick Mahomes. More than most players at this World Cup will ever reach in their entire careers. He has one trophy to his name, a Cypriot Cup most fans had never heard of until last week. But trophies were never really the point of this story. While Yamal and Mbappé and the next generation chase Ballon d'Or, Vozinha has quietly become something rarer, the player this entire tournament didn't know it needed. Whatever happens against Saudi Arabia, Vozinha has already given Cape Verde something money cannot buy, a permanent place in World Cup history. His story isn't finished yet, and neither is ours. Subscribe, because when this group stage finishes, we'll be back with the full story of whatever happens next.